Okay, so welcome to another client spotlight series. I have the wonderful Olivia here with me today. Olivia, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. My name is Olivia. My pronouns are she and they. I'm queer. I'm mixed race. I'm so all of the things, right? All of the everythings. But I predominantly work as a priestess, an energy healer, and a coach for women and femmes of color. So that's kind of I don't know, my shtick, I
Magic.
guess.
Oh, that's definitely your magic. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I was so excited when you joined the container. And so I'd love to hear for you, what had you want to join and go on a sexual empowerment journey? And sharing if there are any hesitations around that choice or just what really
Mhm.
inspired you to say yes.
Yeah. So I had followed you, Anne, for a while, and had kind of danced around the sexual empowerment conversation, in part because I've experienced trauma in the past. And so I was a little like, can I even access this? Like, I've gotten some of my healing and therapy and I've moved on to a certain point, but like, will I be able to access this for myself? Am I ready to access this for myself? And I was really, though, excited to just tap into your energy and to witness a woman of color as well, because I had seen pleasure coaches and I had seen different people throughout kind of the internet wellness, space that we're in, and hadn't really found any women of color that I hadn't found anyone of color at all. And then I found you, and I was like, oh, well, this could be very different for me if I could be with somebody who can kind of hold and speak to the intersections and the nuances and ways that I need and that I was looking for. And I did a free workshop that you had done, that you had offered, and I did the workshop, and then I read the sales page, and it was just like a full body sacral yes, even though I was terrified. Like, even though I was like, all right, I guess I'm doing this. It just felt so warm and good. And I had gratefully gotten to a point in my life where I started to listen to that body wisdom. And so I said yes. And here we are.
Oh my God, beautiful. So you
Yeah.
said yes, and I would love
Mhm.
to hear what the journey was like for you. Maybe what were some of the biggest takeaways or realizations that you had?
There were a lot. And I will say that I still have not finished the full course. Like, I still have not finished all of the coursework. And I plan to. I think that as someone who was very like academic and like goal oriented, I think we're all kind of societally conditioned to be that way. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. And then I got into it and I was like, oh, this isn't about like forcing, it's about learning to listen the language to the language that my body speaks in a different, I don't even want to say a different way, in a way that my body's always spoken to me, but one that's been charged, right? That's been
Mm.
charged with shame, that's been charged with trauma, that's been charged with, all sorts of the crap that we sort of get fed. And so for me, the experience, one, was so powerful to be in circle with other women and femmes of color and to just have a really sacred, safe space for us to talk about sacred sexuality and sexual reclamation specifically. Like, I've been in other circles that have been amazing and we've done some really powerful healing, but there was still kind of a little bit of that taboo energy. And so it was really powerful to be in circle with other women and femmes of color. And it was also, I think it was reading Pussy that really, like, I was reading that at the start and we started, I remember, and like the first few sections are like all about self-love. And I remember being like, but I want to have amazing orgasms. Like, what does that have to, like, what do you mean I need to like love myself? Like, I remember being like, what? And then I like haven't gotten past some of those lessons yet because I'm still tapping into that. But what's so interesting is that even those little pieces, even those little sparks have completely shifted how I've moved through the world and have actually given me more permission again to like listen to all parts of myself and listen to my body in a way that again has always been there, but that I, had internalized a lot of things that kept me from listening to that voice,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I love that because one thing for anyone listening that might be similar, I think that surprises a lot of people is like, I celebrate being a quote unquote bad student. I celebrate
Mm-hmm.
not completing every single thing or ticking all of it off. And so thank you for bringing that. And, what I'm hearing from you is this deep listening. And I'm just remembering this moment where you were like, oh, I kind of expected this to be hard, but actually I'm discovering that my access to my pleasure feels very available and easy. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, just
Yeah.
as you were sharing, it reminded me of that.
Yeah. And I remember that I was like, I don't know if I know what to do with this, because I feel like I came in, I was like expecting it to be hard. Again, I was like, I'm gonna be a great student. I'm gonna, fight through it, and I'm gonna access my pleasure. And it was actually just like, if you just took some deep breaths and, let yourself
Um,
relax a little bit. And that, I remember us having a session on that, I was like, I'm a little in crisis because I'm used to having to like turn shit into gold, and now you're like, no, it's gold, you could just make more gold if you wanted. And it's like, oh, okay. Okay, this is new and different. Okay. But yeah, I remember
yeah.
that vividly too. Yeah.
And so beautiful to witness because I think that's one of the big intentions, is to, rather than connect with one another primarily or first and foremost through our pain, can we actually
Mm-hmm.
lift each other up through our pleasure? And so that actually takes me to the next question
Mm-hmm.
of, what did it feel like to be in the container, with me as well as in community? Like, how was that aspect for you?
It kind of felt like, am I good? Am I breaking
Yeah,
up
yeah,
a
you're
little
good.
bit? Okay, okay. um, it kind of felt like when you're like a teenager, or and you like I remember, okay, let me see if I can say this. I remember reading like the first time I found like porn, or the first time I found like books that had like really steamy scenes in them. And then I would like recommend them to a friend, and then she would read it. And then we would kind of be like whispering to each other, being like, oh my God, like, can you believe? And it's very joyful, and it's very like, oh my God. But I felt like we had moments, right, where we got into the depths with each other, and we really like witnessed each other in what was coming up. But a lot of it really just felt like, wait, does this get to be this fun and this easy and this like joyful, and like, oh, here's this sexy thing that I did, and everybody's like, yeah, you did, and you're like, oh, okay. Okay, great. Like, it's this difference of celebrating and bringing a lot of the things that have been, for whatever reason, kind of in the shadows, that we're just like, no, like, we're full human beings that are experiencing all of our multiplicities, and that involves pleasure, whether that's the pleasure of a really good cup of coffee or a really good orgasm. Like, we can have all of that. And it was just fun. It was just a fun, like, and I mean, it was fun, and at times it was also really emotional, and we like went there
Hmm.
too. um and I think, though, that I remember most the joy and the fun and the giggles, and the kind of like, oh, look at me, like, look at this thing that I did, look at my pussy necklace, like, look at me running around freaking people out, saying things like pussy loud, like, like all of these. It was just, that was one of the things that I found to be the most, I would say, unique about this group, is that it just felt like there was that invitation for play, and a little cheekiness, and a little like, yeah, what
Yeah.
about it? Like, what about it?
I love it. It feels like sexy mischief.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And you encourage that in us deeply, and I think you lead us by example, and you encourage that in us deeply, and I think that that's also such a powerful,
Mm,
powerful experience. Yeah.
beautiful. Well, is there anything else that you would want to add or anything that you would want to say to someone who's, in where you were some time ago who might be deciding or wanting to go on this path? I mean, even whether it's this container or something else, just in general, doing this work. Could you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think that, I somewhere down the line, as I was healing from my own trauma, especially around sexual trauma and being a survivor, not decided, but I just sort of leaned into this story that I was always going to have issues,
Mm,
especially when it came to sex and pleasure. And I was always going to be a certain kind of like a certain level of broken, and the sort of like boundless freedom that I saw, that I would see like in you and in other people. I was like, I'm just never going to be able to get there. Like that's just not true for me. And I remember like reading your page, and one of the things that you were talking about was like, here is a sign that you might need therapy instead of this, and here's a sign that you might be ready for this, right? And so I was reading the pieces that were like, you might be, it seems like you're ready for this, and I was like, okay, like we'll see what happens. And there's still so much to explore and so much to expand into, but I think I just found that the parts of me that I thought were the parts that were going to keep me from experiencing sexual freedom and expression were actually the parts that I was able to hold the most tenderly as I stepped forward and expanded into this new expression of self, or this, I don't even know if it's new as much as it's just truer. And
mm,
I'm still excavating and I'm still learning and I still need to get through like, and not even that I need to get through, but I want to get through the full course. Like, but it gave me this radical permission to just kind of be with where I was
mm,
and to bring the broken bits forward, and also kind of have this embodied experience of the depths of my pain was also reflected in the expansiveness of my pleasure, and like learning how to let myself go there, like let myself have the pleasure and the joy and the freedom. And this container really just gave me permission to do that. And so I think if you feel like you're ready, and if you feel like you're getting the tug, but you have a story that you're too broken or that too many things have happened to you, like those parts don't have to go anywhere. You can bring them with you, and these other parts are going to show themselves to you as well. And it might actually be even more healing than anything you've done before. So that's you're not too broken for it.
oh my God, I could like burst open in joy and like tears at the beauty of everything you just said. Like, mic drop, that was an entire sermon. Like, if y'all need more of that, because people should get more of that, join Olivia's world.
Mm,
Please, because we're all co-creators. So thank
yes.
you so much for co-creating this experience with me and
Yes.
being so open to sharing your journey. And yeah, just so much love to you and whoever is watching this.
Yes. So much love to you.